In my last video I explained why Europe is weird from my point of view, and well, I decided to do the same concept for other continents, including today's topic, Africa. As most of you probably know, today's Africa borders were defined by the colonial powers or as a consequence of their actions, which led to a significant number of anomalies that I will explore today. So, Geographers of the world, let me share with you why Africa is weird. When you look at Africa on a map, you can see a defined continent. This big piece of land is only connected to Asia by this peninsula in Egypt, where the Suez Canal was created to connect the Mediterranean to the Red Sea. This basically sets the border between the two continents. From a satellite image, it is possible to see quite simply the different types of terrains and climates spread through Africa, from the Sahara Desert covering great portion of the northern part of the continent, to the tropical forests in the middle of Africa, while other microclimates can be found through the whole landmass. I'll start by talking about the amount of weird panhandles in Africa. The most obvious is this one in Namibia. The Caprivi Strip, as it is known, named after the German Chancellor Levon Caprivi, extends for several hundred kilometers, cutting the possible border between Angola and Botswana till these 4-point countries. In here, Botswana and Zambia share a 100-meter border between them, that doesn't allow the connection between Namibia and Zimbabwe. Not only this trip has created some weird borders, but the story behind is also somehow weird. Caprivi wanted to have direct access to the Indian Ocean through the Zambezi River, and he negotiated the exchange of Zanzibar for this trip. The problem was this natural phenomenon, the Victoria Falls, only a few kilometers after the strip ends, that denied any possible access through this route. Well, a little bit north from this site we can observe that Zambia is almost cut in half by this long piece of land belonging to the DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Also known as the Congo Pedicle, this is another example of an European action with consequence in today's African borders. This part of the Katanga province was negotiated between Belgium and the United Kingdom, which claimed different sites for the border to be defined. A lot of problems were found during the negotiation due to the claims of both parts have several inconsistencies. Rivers change, and in some regions, rivers can have several paths, and this is the main reason for so many disagreements between both parts. This lasts until 1914, when the Italian king entered as a ruler to mark the final border between both parts, as it is today. But the DRC has another panhandle, this time cutting a country completely in two. I'm talking about the separation of Cambina from the mainland of Angola. The DRC has this 30-kilometer access to the Atlantic. The history behind this is again colonization and negotiation, this time between Belgium and Portugal. As you can see, Congo sits mainly in inland Africa, but King Leopold wanted to have access to the sea to export some products from Congo. So after some negotiation, both parts agreed with this. The Congo would have this tiny coast, while Angola would end up having an exclave, which became really important due to the large amount of oil reserves found in here. In the southern part of Africa we find Lesotho, the only enclaved country in Africa, but also the largest enclaved country in the world. Well, let's be honest, the list is not that big, but at least there's first on something. From the south to the north, from enclaves to exclaves. Now it's time to talk about the several Spanish exclaves in Africa. Right next to the Gibraltar Strait, there's Ceuta. This town was originally Portuguese, but after the Iberian Union and some treaties later, it became part of the Spanish Empire until today. Besides Ceuta, Spain has Melilla, a few hundred kilometers to the east, another exclave which its territory was conquered by the Spanish during the 15th and the 16th century. But if you think Spain stopped in there, prepare yourselves to know about the third exclave. This one has the particular fact of having the shortest international border in the world with only 80 meters. I'm talking about Peñón de Vélez de la Gomera. Well, originally this fort was not connected to mainland Morocco, but was instead an island. But nature put both parts together, creating this tiny peninsula, which holds this peculiar record. And what about territorial disputes? Africa has quite some interesting ones. The first one involves Morocco and the territory of Western Sahara. The dispute between Morocco and the Sahrawi Arab Democratic Republic has been going on for a few decades. It is the largest territory in dispute nowadays. It involves a complex history, so maybe I'll talk about this in future videos. Now we travel to the east, where Egypt and Sudan have this dispute here. Interestingly, both countries claim this area, known as the Halahib Triangle, but none of them actually recognize this part, Bir Tawil, as their territory. That's why this American guy went there a few years ago and claimed this land, so that his daughter will be recognized as a princess. Humans can be crazy sometimes. There are a few other disputes, mostly claiming a few small highlands in rivers throughout the whole continent, but are not as interesting and important as these ones I just showed to you. In conclusion, Africa is a mess as a result of colonialism during these last few centuries. What is your opinion about these anomalies and disputes? Would you like to visit one? Please subscribe and leave a like. All your support is very important. See you in the next stop, Geographers of the World.